Good evening. Agenda today is coming to you live from a Sabzi Mandi here in the capital as the entire country talks about a food crisis and food prices spiraling up is the major national issue. Meetings being held by the food ministry, by other experts on this across the day at a time where pulses, the price of pulses went up to 200 rupees per kilo, and the government's trying to figure out exactly how to handle this. With me here in Sarojini Nagar at the Sabzi Mandi, I have Rohit Azad, an economist from the Jawaharlal Nehru University. Also joining me from Chandigarh, we have Devinder Sharma, who is a food policy analyst. They'll help us understand what's happening right now. It's not just politics. What's happening really right now. Before we do that, I just wanted to tell you that we've been speaking to a lot of the traders over here, and what they say is that the prices at the moment here in the capital, the price of potatoes have kind of stabilized, but even now tomatoes are much double the normal price at about 50 rupees per kilo. And that's really what we're talking about. This price rise that we're seeing right now, is this out of the ordinary or is it normal? Rohit Azad, is it normal?
No, it's actually not normal. I think, as usual, this is essentially a mismatch between demand and supply. But demand is actually low in the economy, so there has to be some logic coming from the supply side, and I think that's why it is not usual. It is an unusual thing. This is something which could have been controlled but has not been controlled. And now what they're going into in firefighting, they should have done it probably earlier. It's about the mismatch that I guess.
So Devinder Sharma, do you agree with this, or do you have a different viewpoint?
My understanding is that it's not a demand and supply issue, and it is simply an issue of manipulation. And the prices have been manipulated. There is no reason, no justification why the prices should be touching 200 rupees a kilo. And even if the shortfall, as they say, is 8 lakh ton, is not a big shortfall. It is not that the trade operates by looking at the graphs every morning and then decides what is going to be the price. I think it is pure manipulation, and I think the trade is having a wonderful run. They're having a free run, knowing that the government is not going to do a crackdown the way normally it should be expected. So we have always been very soft towards the trade, and the trade is having a gala run.
So who would you blame for this, sir? This manipulation?
But in my estimation, it is basically the trade, especially the retail trade, which is responsible for jacking up the prices. And there is otherwise no reason, because the availability of pulses is quite up and compared to last year. And I don't see any reason why the prices should be going up.
Okay, we also have a farmers leader, VM Singh, here joining us. We've just heard from Devinder Sharma. Rohit Azad is also here with us. When you see the food prices going on, we've especially seen that of vegetables. What do you owe the reasons to? Is it out of the normal, or is it completely man-made?
Certainly it is. I mean, you can see in the past 15 years, 4 lakh farmers have committed suicide. And every season, this is off-season right now incidentally, every season the farmers have to sell their produce for a pittance. And now the same thing from the cold storage comes in at an inflated rate. Who's making the money? It's the middlemen.
Yes.
So the hoarders. I mean, government has to come out strong on them. Yeah. And even thinking remotely that the farmer is even making a penny out of this is ridiculous. The farmer is getting nothing at all. All these small little talks of something has gone wrong here, the weather conditions are wrong here, so therefore the rates are high. It's absolutely trash. The government has to come down on the hoarding. Yeah. You have to see, this is the cyclic period again. Another 1 month things they'll fall into place. Now tomatoes. Now the tomatoes you have to see, okay fine, this is a season where there are less tomatoes. You can bring it from the hills. Ensure they don't go anywhere else into the cold storages. Because ultimately after a month or two when it starts dropping in a big way, then you'll have the farmers getting 1 rupee a kilo.
Yes.
So the government has to come, balance it out.
Yeah.
It's the role of the government, not that the food minister says, I'm going to release 62 lakh metric tons of wheat, I'm going to do this, that, etc. to balance it out. No, that's wrong economics.
Actually, what's interesting is that the government has also said that it's some way the states are also at fault. They had a buffer stock and they said several states hadn't really picked that up. And we have Dinesh Gundu Rao from the Congress in Karnataka joining us. How would you respond to that? Here you have hugely inflated prices and the centre saying that the states are equally responsible. Do they have a point when they say that?
No, if you're talking about buffer stock, are you talking about in pulses or in other food grains? Because in pulses, the amount which was imported was around 10,000 metric tons was allocated for the entire country, and Karnataka was given 1,000 metric tons. So, which is a drop in the ocean, doesn't make any impact. Though they had said that you don't sell it for more than 120 rupees a kilo. But taking 1,000 metric tons is something which is too less. That's what we met the Food Minister Ram Vilas Paswan ji from Karnataka, myself, and we requested him to allocate us more pulses so that we can take and it'll have some price stabilization mechanism. Also, the Government of India now has come out with the price stabilization fund, so that is being put in place now. Even in Karnataka also, we have just cleared that fund issue. So we are trying to do our best over here, but ultimately I think the economics of it is something which I think has to be handled by the Government of India, and that's where they are failing completely.
Yes. Yeah, sure. I'm go ahead.
The same question as such, what you would ask the state and the centre. Okay? Now, if you look at wheat right now, you have about 340 lakh metric tons of wheat lying with the central government. It's a central pool. It's not a straight pool. From the state pool, you have to give everything to the central pool. Now, they don't even have that. I mean, the PDS takes about 240 lakh metric tons. They released about 60 earlier. They only have 35 lakh metric tons with them. And the food minister says they're going to release 60 lakh metric tons from where? So they don't even do the homework well. They have no idea what the states are giving the centre, what the centre has it known, what is the responsibility of the centre for PDS every single month. You have to take all that into account. But just saying, shoving the blame to the centre or to the state will not help anybody at all. This is what happens, and in between, invariably, not in this case, the farmer becomes a football in between.
So Rohit, go ahead.
I think it's not about the farmers alone. I think it's the common people who are suffering together with the farmers, and he's absolutely right. It's this whole thing of hoarding along with mismanagement of economics is what is bringing this together. So I would not just blame the state, I would actually blame them together, that it is essentially a mismanagement from both their sides. So this whole thing about Congress versus the BJP, it would have been the same whether it's the Congress or the BJP. The hoarders are essentially the ones who are backed by these parties, and they just don't want to crack down on them. So that's absolutely correct. And public distribution system is something that has been dismantled categorically by these governments, and that's something which affects pulses in particular, because that's something which should have come in the ambit of the public distribution system.
No, and I'm hoping that during the course of the show we do get a government spokesperson to speak about it, but we can't be here at the mandi before talking to some of the traders over here. ये जो दाम बढ़े हैं आलू के, टमाटर के, ये आपको नॉर्मल लग रहे हैं, इस समय होते हैं या फिर कुछ अलग हो रहा है इस साल?
इस समय होता ही है,
हमेशा ही होता है।
इस समय होता ही है हमेशा।
So, Devinder Sharma, what would you say to that? Because some of the other shopkeepers here in the mandi are also saying that they think it's normal around this time of the year.
Well, tell me, when was tomato at 100 rupees a kilo in the last few years, that at least you remember that? But the fact of the matter is, only a few months back, tomato was going a-begging, and tomato was going a-begging. In Chhattisgarh, people did not even pluck tomatoes from their fields because the prices had crashed down to such a low level. In Hyderabad market, I found a month or 2 months back, the ruling price was 30 paisa a kilo. And no media talked about the prices crashing at that time, and we know the onion story also. So when the prices crash, it's nobody's problem because the farmers are suffering. But when the consumers suffer, then everybody's up in arms. But the point I want to make here is that it has never happened that we, as far as I remember, that tomato prices have gone up to 100 rupees. It is not the usual practice that what happens. Now, interestingly, only a month back or even a few weeks back, I would say, tomato was procured from farmers. You could get tomato from farmers farmers at about 1 rupee a kilo. And now, suddenly, when the prices zoom up, it is not, as VM Singh very rightly mentioned, farmers never gain when the prices go up. It's the middle trade, which is middlemen, which makes the money. Now, in this condition, I think what should be done, whether it is vegetables, whether it is wheat, whether it is rice, or whether it is onions, I think the fact of the matter is that today the food trade is completely in a mess. And successive governments for the last few years have done nothing except to assure the country that they're going to crack down on the trade. But I think nobody wants to crack down on trade because trade actually is the money bag for the political parties. Let's not forget that. Whether it is a mandis in Delhi, whether it's a mandi in Punjab, Haryana, Karnataka, every state would be you'll see the chairman of the APMC being of the ruling party, and that's what they one of the tasks that they have to perform. So that is the reason why the governments are very shy or reluctant to crack down on the trade.
Okay, and the good thing is we have Shaina NC as a government spokesperson. Shaina NC, you heard all the experts over here. You heard the farmers representative VM Singh, you heard Rohit Azad, you heard Devinder Sharma. How do you respond to this mismanagement which has been allowed to occur?
I wouldn't want to call it mismanagement, Sunetra. I think that we need to understand that this is a phenomena that has happened every single year just before the rains. I do concede that food inflation is at a 19-month high. I'm not putting on blinkers. In fact, our government has said time and again, whether it is the government shops where we're trying our best to give the consumer fair prices, whether it is trying to do away with the middleman. The endeavor is clearly that to import all kinds of pulses from Myanmar, from Africa. I think the fact is that the government is not missing the point, and neither is the government shying away from a responsibility. We have asked the states to, make sure that the buffer stock that is available for them to sell is sold and at moderate prices. So like for example, you were talking about tomatoes. If we are able to make sure it's within 100 rupees, we will be able to bridge the gap between demand and supply. I just want to say that we can sit and discuss what the food minister said, what the agricultural department is saying, but look at the kind of pattern that you have seen year after year at this time just before the rains. You have always seen a certain kind of pulse inflation, so to speak. And I don't want to say that there is a long-term solution immediately, but we are working towards bridging the gap between the middlemen, connecting the farmer directly to the consumer, ensuring that there is no kind of hoarding where the middleman benefits, making sure that the government has a policy in place to import whatever we feel is absolutely necessary. So I think the measures are being taken. We need to work on this as a holistic solution.
Measures are being taken, but are they enough? Do you think they're enough?
See, I asked Shaina a question a few months ago when we had a problem on onions. I just asked them that time, and I asked every minister or any representative at that stage, how many FIRs have been registered against the hoarders? How many FIRs have been registered against the hoarders for onions at that point in time, for tomatoes today, for any other vegetable today? Is there a provision? Do we have a government that takes care of anyone? And another factor, it's coming around that the farmers are gaining today because of anything, whatever. You have to understand one thing. People talk about consumers. Let's talk about consumers, not the farmers. 70% consumers are farmers.
Yeah.
They're laborers and farmers. Somebody may have 100 grams. Somebody might buy a kilo. The difference is that. But 70%, the farmers and the laborers again are buying these vegetables. Okay. They are buying pulses. They are buying wheat, what they sell at 14 rupees for 25 rupees in the market today. Right. So all these things, what is happening, it's affecting a common man. A common man includes the farmer in this agrarian society.
Okay, sure, you can make those points. We're going to take a short break now and come back and hear those points. I think a lot of people want to respond. Devinder Sharma, you all want to respond to what the government is saying, what Shaina NC just said. We'll be back in just a bit from the Sabzi Mandi on food and inflation. Stay with us.